The Battle of Ong Thanh, on October this month in 1967. The Vietnam War was a complex and tumultuous conflict that unfolded across the jungles and rice paddies of Vietnam, with many battles etched into the collective memory of those who lived through it. Among these battles, the Battle of Ong Thanh, fought in October 1967, stands out as a poignant example of the war's intensity and the challenges faced by U.S. forces. By late 1967, the United States had significantly increased its military presence in Vietnam. The North Vietnamese Army, NVA, and the Viet Cong were determined to challenge U.S. forces and disrupt their operations. The 1st Infantry Division, known as the Big Red One, was deployed in the Mekong Delta region, tasked with rooting out the enemy and securing the area. The village of Ong Thanh, located in the Tay Ninh province, was a strategic point for the NVA. They utilized the surrounding jungles to mount ambushes and conduct surprise attacks against U.S. patrols. The U.S. military aimed to diminish the Viet Cong's influence and secure the area for local government forces. In the weeks leading up to the battle, intelligence reports indicated increased enemy activity in the Ong Thanh area. U.S. commanders suspected that a large NVA unit was operating nearby, preparing for an offensive. In response, they dispatched Troop A of the 1st Squadron, 4th Cavalry Regiment, to conduct a reconnaissance mission. On October 17, 1967, Troop A, consisting of around 150 soldiers, set out on what was intended to be a routine patrol. Led by Captain James "Jim" Dyer, the troops were well aware of the risks but remained focused on their mission to gather intelligence and engage the enemy. As Troop A moved deeper into the dense jungle, the atmosphere grew tense. The soldiers were aware of the dangers lurking in the shadows, booby traps, sniper fire, and the ever-present threat of an ambush. Their caution proved warranted. Suddenly, the calm was shattered. As they traversed a narrow trail, the unit stumbled into a carefully orchestrated trap laid by the NVA. Machine gun fire erupted from both sides of the trail, and chaos ensued. The soldiers were caught off guard, struggling to return fire while seeking cover in the thick foliage. The initial wave of enemy fire was overwhelming. Soldiers were pinned down, unable to regroup or retreat. The ambush was expertly executed, and the NVA fighters, well trained in guerrilla warfare, took full advantage of the terrain. Captain Dyer quickly realized that they were heavily outnumbered. The battle quickly devolved into a desperate fight for survival. Troop A's soldiers fought valiantly, returning fire and trying to regroup. They were forced to call for air support, and helicopters scrambled to provide cover. However, the dense jungle made visibility difficult, complicating the support efforts. In the midst of the chaos, Captain Dyer moved among his men, providing encouragement and directing their efforts. He knew that maintaining morale was crucial in such dire circumstances. Despite the enemy's overwhelming numbers, his leadership inspired the troops to hold their ground and fight back. The hours dragged on as the battle raged. The sound of gunfire echoed through the jungle, mingled with the cries of the wounded. The soldiers fought not just for their own survival, but for each other, as camaraderie and brotherhood became their lifeline amidst the violence. After several hours of fierce combat, reinforcements finally arrived. The 2nd Battalion, 7th Cavalry Regiment, was deployed to support Troop A, and they quickly moved in to assist. With the additional firepower, the tide began to turn. The reinforcements were met with the same fierce resistance, but they pressed on, coordinating their attacks and employing air support more effectively. Helicopters swooped in, dropping flares and providing covering fire, while ground troops advanced to push back the NVA. As the battle progressed, the enemy began to falter. The initial shock of their ambush began to wane as U.S. forces gained ground. The combination of aerial bombardment and coordinated ground attacks began to dismantle the enemy's positions. By the end of the day, the Battle of Ong Thanh had resulted in significant casualties on both sides. U.S. forces reported 16 dead and over 30 wounded, while estimates of NVA casualties ranged much higher, with reports of over 200 enemy soldiers killed. The battle underscored the harsh realities of the Vietnam War. Despite their technological advantages and superior firepower, U.S. forces faced a determined and resourceful enemy. The ambush at Ong Thanh highlighted the effectiveness of guerrilla tactics employed by the NVA, who used their intimate knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. In the aftermath, the soldiers of Troop A reflected on the harrowing experience. The battle forged lasting bonds among the men, some of whom would carry physical and emotional scars for the rest of their lives. The lessons learned at Ong Thanh would inform future operations as U.S. forces continued to adapt to the unique challenges of fighting in Vietnam. The Battle of Ong Thanh remains a significant chapter in the history of the Vietnam War. It serves as a reminder of the complexities of combat in an unconventional warfare environment, where the enemy often held the advantage of terrain and surprise. For many veterans, the memories of that day linger on, a testament to their bravery and sacrifice. The battle is commemorated not just as a military engagement but as a symbol of the struggle faced by U.S. forces during the Vietnam War, an enduring conflict marked by courage, loss, and the quest for understanding in a land far from home. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment.